Now, 6 months into Donald Trump's deeply unpopular war in Iran, which he promised would last weeks, we are hearing from the families of U.S. sailors and Marines. Those family members are outraged by the horrific conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. They describe long workdays, moldy showers, food shortages, and sailors running out of toothpaste, deodorant, and soap. They say their loved ones, our service members, are so exhausted after 9 months at sea, fighting a war with no end in sight, that they fear it could lead to deadly mistakes. Here's how one mom describes her own outrage and the conditions she learned from her son over email.
Food obviously has been scarce. All he's really told me is there's a time where he was only eating half a cup of rice and 2 tortillas. The morale is bad. You're not being able to shower. They don't have toiletries. They're having to share stuff. They're exhausted. Trump doesn't want the bad publicity. He knows that you can't tell me he does not know what's going on over there. You cannot tell me that he does not know that they don't have food. He knows. He knows. Pete Hegseth. Send Pete Hegseth over there. Then you come tell us that everything is okay. Because what we're hearing from our children or our spouses or whomever is not that.
I'm going to bring into our coverage Pentagon reporter Priya Sridhar, who broke this story. She's also a former officer in the Navy. This is deeply disturbing, and I know you talked to more than a dozen family members. Take us through what you're reporting.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. Well, there are about 5,000 sailors and Marines who are on that aircraft carrier, the Lincoln, and they just broke a record that nobody in the Navy ever wants to break, and that's the most number of continuous days at sea. They left San Diego, their home port, in November. They briefly stopped in Guam in December, and then they didn't make another port call until they went to Oman just a few weeks ago in early July. Many of these sailors and Marines are working 12 to 14-hour shifts, and depending on their jobs, they're not getting a day off. And when you talk about the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, that's one of the most dangerous places in the military, whether or not you're at war. You have these really fast-paced aircraft that are launching and landing on that flight deck. You have bombs, munitions, and weapons that are being moved around at a very fast pace. And you have these sailors and Marines that are being exposed to extremely loud noises for sustained periods of time that can really lead to long-term injuries like hearing loss. So really, what these families are telling me is that when you couple the exhaustion with the low morale that's a result of the fact that they just learned that their deployment was extended for a second time, they're concerned that this could lead to accidents that could potentially turn deadly. And then on top of that, the conditions that you just talked about, they're telling me that the sailors and the Marines can't take hot showers, that the toilets are non-operational, that for weeks at a time there are no access to working laundry facilities, and that they're having to stand in lines to get into the ship's store for 1 to 2 hours. And when they get there, there are no basic hygiene items like toothpaste, deodorant, or soap. And so really their frustration here is that they keep hearing from lawmakers and on the media these questions about our stockpiles of munitions and weapons and $67 billion that Secretary Hegseth is asking for the DOD. And they want their loved ones to be part of this conversation as well.
Let me play, Priya, your interview with Bonnie York, whose stepson is on the USS Lincoln and who voted for Trump.
Maybe the government could have given us the information we needed to understand what we're doing out there, and for our servicemen and women to say, okay, this is important, this is what we're doing this for. And it's everyone's saying, well, they signed up for this, this is what it is. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? They're going to be out there till they complete their mission. What are we completing? What have we completed? I'd like to know.
I mean, this has been part of the political conversation that Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth have failed to articulate an answer to that Trump voter, that military mom. But I think maybe some people thought that inside the military there was a better understanding. But to hear a mom say, quote, what are we completing, is really, really chilling.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. I mean, all of these sailors and Marines know what they signed up for. They know that, the military isn't, they weren't going to go on a luxury cruise or something like that. They know they're at war. But I think what's really concerning to them is they want to have a clear mission. They want to complete that mission, and they want there to be an end goal. And really, none of the families feel like that has been clearly articulated to them. And they feel like there's just a lack of transparency with this administration about what the purpose of this war is and when they get to come home.
Priya Sridhar, thank you so much. It's incredible reporting. Thank you for bringing it to us. I want to bring into our coverage Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. He served 3 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's a member of the House Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. Tom is still with us. Congressman, your thoughts?
Nicole, there's really 2 big things going on here. The first is Donald Trump's general disdain for anyone in public service, anyone who's committed to something bigger than themselves. And in particular for Donald Trump, our service members, who he has a particular disdain for. He's called them suckers and losers. He says he likes people who don't get caught, don't get captured by the enemy. This is a man who can't wrap his brain around the very notion that people would serve, they would sacrifice, they would give something beyond themselves. He cannot comprehend that thought. So that's the first piece. The second is, this is what happens when you stumble into, or when you enter into, they didn't stumble into it, he chose this war, without a plan. No plan, no strategy, no idea for how they were going to rotate ships through the region, how they were going to rotate aircraft carriers and fighter wings. There is no plan, and now we see the results of that. Our service members are suffering. We don't have adequate supplies to defend the airspace around our bases. The USS Abraham Lincoln, which is one of several large ships in the region, is now on its 9th month at sea. 5 of those months have been engaged in 5 months of combat operations. And the strain on our service members and their families is just building week by week.
Congressman, there is a lack of basic hygiene being alleged by military families. There's also allegations of extreme exhaustion with a very high-stakes mission. How is it that there's no way to land a bipartisan congressional oversight operation on that aircraft carrier and immediately address those 2 seemingly grave crises?
Well, because House Republicans are too scared of Donald Trump to speak up and to criticize Pete Hegseth and this administration, right? Every time we have a House Armed Services Committee hearing or an intelligence hearing and we point these issues out, they come back and they accuse us of politicizing it, right? There's not enough food. Oh, that's politics. There's not basic hygiene. Oh, we're playing politics. We're 9 months into a rotation for our aircraft carrier, way beyond how long it's supposed to be on station. Oh, we're playing politics. That's their MO. That's what they do. We're going to continue to do it. But what we need is a few Republicans of character and courage to speak up and say no. This is not a political issue. This is an objective national security issue, a health, welfare, and fairness issue for our troops. But on top of it, not only are they not doing their job and they're derelict in their duty, Pete Hegseth and others doing this job, but they're literally stealing money from pots of funding that Congress has allocated for wellness for our troops and their families. We allocated last year billions of dollars for construction of new barracks and new housing on our bases. This administration stole that money for Trump's border wall. We allocated money for TRICARE funding, for health care for our troops. And time again, they reprogram, they take money out of those pots that we put into welfare and quality of life for our troops and their families, and they allocate it to contingency operations for their endless war to border operations. So enough is enough. We are going to retake power in November. We're going to put some guardrails in place, and we're going to start doing the right thing.